Leo pushed the door to Dr. Alex's office open with a force that made it slam against the wall. His heart raced, his breath shallow, and his mind clouded with worry. What met his eyes inside was unimaginable, a scene so horrifying it left him frozen for a moment. Dr. Alex, the esteemed doctor who had cared for Rosemary throughout her pregnancy, was hurriedly pulling up his trousers, his white coat crumpled and hanging loosely on his shoulders. On the examination bed lay Rosemary, unconscious, her hospital gown slightly disheveled. Her chest rose and fell steadily, her face calm, as if she were in a deep sleep. Leo's mind struggled to process what he was seeing, but his emotions surged ahead of his thoughts. Fury bubbled up, a wave of anger and betrayal so intense it left no room for hesitation. "You disgusting monster!" Leo roared, his voice echoing through the sterile room. He charged across the room and grabbed Alex by the collar, slamming him against the wall. The sound of the impact sent medical tools clattering to the floor, their sharp clangs cutting through the tense silence. "Leo, wait, please," Alex stammered, his voice shaking. "It's not what it looks like. I can explain." "Explain," Leo bellowed, his voice trembling with rage and disbelief. "You drugged my wife. You betrayed us. How could you?" Leo's grip tightened on Alex's collar. His hands trembled as he fought the urge to do more than just yell. He could barely contain the fury coursing through him. "You were supposed to help her." Leo's voice cracked, raw with emotion. "We trusted you with her life, and this is what you do?" Rosemary remained unconscious on the examination bed, her peaceful appearance a cruel contradiction to the chaos around her. Her vulnerability only fueled Leo's rage, and his grip on Alex's collar tightened further. "You'll never hurt anyone again," Leo growled through gritted teeth, his eyes boring into Alex's pale, trembling face. Alex stammered again, his words faltering under the weight of Leo's anger. I didn't. Please, just listen to me." "You don't get to explain," Leo spat, his voice like a whip. "You don't get to lie your way out of this." Years earlier, Dr. Alex was a man admired and respected by everyone who knew him. He was the second son of Pastor Moses, a renowned preacher known for his powerful sermons and moral authority. Alex grew up in a household steeped in faith, discipline, and high expectations. Alex's older brother, Johnson, was charismatic and outgoing, a natural leader who thrived in the spotlight of their father's church. Alex, on the other hand, was quiet, studious, and deeply intelligent. While Johnson basked in the adoration of the congregation, Alex preferred solitude, spending his time with books and learning. From a young age, Alex was seen as the perfect son. His calm demeanor and academic excellence set him apart, and many in the church believed he was destined for greatness. Some thought he would follow in his father's footsteps and take over the pulpit one day. But Alex had other plans. He admired his father's work, but didn't feel called to a life of preaching. Instead, he dreamed of becoming a doctor. He was fascinated by the human body and driven by a desire to help others. Chakras. When Alex shared his ambition with his father, Pastor Moses was surprised. Medicine was a noble calling, but it was far removed from the spiritual path he had envisioned for Alex. Still, after much thought and prayer, he gave his blessing, proud that his son wanted to dedicate his life to healing others. The church community celebrated Alex's decision, seeing his choice as an extension of their faith. They supported him with prayers, encouragement, and financial contributions as he set off to pursue his dreams. Medical school was where Alex's brilliance truly shone. He excelled in his studies, earning top marks and praise from his professors. He was meticulous, hardworking, and dedicated, traits that made him stand out among his peers. While others socialized and partied, Alex spent long hours in the library, immersing himself in textbooks and research. His professors often pointed to him as an example of what a medical student should strive to be. But beneath his calm and composed exterior, Alex was battling an immense amount of pressure. The expectations of his family, his community, and even himself weighed heavily on his shoulders. He couldn't afford to fail, not when so many people believed in him. To cope with the stress, Alex sought small escapes. At first, it was harmless distractions, watching TV, playing video games, or going for late-night walks. But as the demands of medical school grew, so did his need for relief. One night, alone in his dorm room, Alex stumbled upon explicit material online. What began as a moment of curiosity quickly spiraled into something more. He found himself drawn to the sense of control and escape it provided. At first, Alex convinced himself it was harmless, a private indulgence that didn't affect anyone else. But as time went on, it became an addiction. It began to consume his thoughts, even as he excelled in his studies and maintained the image of a disciplined and devoted student. After graduating from medical school, Alex returned home and was immediately thrust into the next chapter of his life. His father had arranged his marriage to Lucy, the daughter of another respected pastor. Lucy was everything Alex's family wanted for him: beautiful, kind, and deeply religious. Their union was celebrated as a match made in heaven, a testament to their shared faith and values. But for Alex, the marriage was more about duty than love. He barely knew Lucy, and while he respected her, he didn't feel any deep connection to her. Their relationship was polite but distant, and their interactions lacked intimacy. On their wedding night, they sat awkwardly in silence, unsure of how to bridge the gap between them. Lucy tried to be patient and understanding, but Alex kept his struggles hidden. As their marriage progressed, Alex turned increasingly to his addiction for solace. It became a way to escape the emotional void he felt in his relationship with Lucy. Despite their lack of closeness, Alex and Lucy built a life together. They had 2 daughters, Sophia and Mia, who brought joy and laughter into their home. To the outside world, they were the perfect family. But behind closed doors, Alex's addiction grew stronger, feeding a darkness he couldn't control. In his professional life, Alex was a rising star. He quickly established himself as one of the best obstetricians at a prestigious hospital. His calm demeanor, steady hands, and meticulous attention to detail made him a favorite among patients and colleagues alike. Expectant mothers trusted Alex implicitly. His reassuring words and gentle approach put them at ease, and his track record of successful deliveries solidified his reputation. To his colleagues, Alex was the ideal doctor: dedicated, hardworking, and compassionate. He often volunteered for extra shifts, stayed late to help with emergencies, and handled the most complicated cases with ease. But Alex's professional success only masked the darkness growing inside him. The trust and admiration he received from patients fed into his addiction, blurring the lines between his professional and private lives. The first time Alex crossed the line was with a young, vulnerable patient who had come to him for a routine checkup. She was nervous, and Alex offered her a sedative to help her relax. Once she was unconscious, he acted on impulses he had suppressed for years. When she woke up, she seemed disoriented but unaware of what had happened. Alex reassured her with his usual calm demeanor, convincing her that everything had gone smoothly. Consumed by guilt, Alex told himself it was a one-time mistake, but the sense of power and control he felt in that moment lingered, and it wasn't long before he repeated the act. Over time, Alex became more calculated. He chose patients who were less likely to question him, those who came alone or seemed shy and trusting. He justified his actions by telling himself he wasn't causing harm, that his skill as a doctor outweighed his private sins. Rosemary's visit to Alex's office began like any other appointment. She was 30 weeks pregnant and experiencing abdominal pain. She and her husband Leo had arrived at the hospital together, but Leo stayed behind to park the car while Rosemary went ahead to check in. Alex greeted her with his usual calm and professional demeanor. He listened carefully as she described her symptoms, nodding thoughtfully. "We'll take care of you," he assured her. When he suggested a sedative to make the examination more comfortable, Rosemary trusted him completely. She had no reason to doubt the doctor who had guided her through her pregnancy. As the sedative took effect, and Rosemary drifted into unconsciousness, Alex's mask slipped. He acted without hesitation, convinced that no one would find out. But he hadn't counted on Leo. As the door to Dr. Alex's office slammed shut behind Leo, chaos erupted. Nurses and hospital staff, alarmed by Leo's shouts and the clanging sounds of the confrontation, rushed toward the office. One nurse, Maria, hesitated before opening the door, but finally stepped inside. What she saw left her speechless. Leo stood, his fists still clenched, breathing heavily as he glared at Alex. The doctor's usually composed demeanor was gone. He looked pale, his shirt rumpled, and his expression one of pure panic. On the examination bed, Rosemary lay unconscious, her chest rising and falling slowly under the hospital gown. "Call security," Maria whispered to one of her colleagues who had followed her in. Then she moved quickly to check on Rosemary, adjusting her gown and checking her vitals. "She's been sedated," she said softly. Leo's fury was uncontrollable. "Sedated?" he spat, turning his glare back to Alex. "You drugged her, didn't you? How many others have you done this to?" Alex stammered, his hands raised defensively. "Leo, I swear." "Don't you dare say another word," Leo roared. "You don't get to talk your way out of this. You're finished." The sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway as hospital security arrived. Two guards stepped into the office, their eyes scanning the room before moving toward Alex. "Sir, we need you to step back," one of the guards said firmly to Leo, who hesitated before releasing his clenched fists and stepping away. The guards approached Alex, their hands firm as they restrained him. Alex didn't resist, his head hanging low as they pulled his arms behind his back. His murmurs of protest were ignored as they led him out of the room, past a gathering crowd of patients and staff. Word of the incident spread like wildfire through the hospital. Dr. Alex, once the pride of the institution, was now the subject of whispers and disbelief. For years, he had been revered as a skilled and compassionate doctor, someone patients trusted implicitly. Now, that trust was shattered. In the emergency room, Rosemary began to regain consciousness. Her eyelids fluttered open, and she blinked up at Leo, who sat by her side, his face a mixture of relief and anguish. "Leo?" she whispered, her voice weak and groggy. "What's going on? Why am I here?" Tears welled in Leo's eyes as he took her hand. "You're safe now," he said softly. "You don't have to worry about anything. I'm here." As Rosemary's memory began to return in fragments, confusion gave way to fear. "Dr. Alex, I don't remember what happened. I felt strange and then—" Leo shook his head, his voice firm but gentle. "You don't need to think about it now. Just focus on resting. We'll deal with everything else later." As the police took over the investigation, details of Alex's crimes began to surface. It wasn't just Rosemary. Over the next few days, more women came forward, sharing their stories of feeling uneasy or disoriented after appointments with Dr. Alex. One by one, the testimonies painted a chilling picture. Stella, a young mother, described waking up from a routine examination, feeling confused and violated. "I didn't understand it at the time," she said during an interview. I thought it was just the medication or stress, but now everything makes sense. The revelations rocked the hospital to its core. Administrators scrambled to review patient records, trying to identify how Alex's behavior had gone unnoticed for so long. Staff members, some of whom had worked with Alex for years, felt a mix of betrayal and guilt. "I should have seen the signs," one nurse admitted. "He was always so private, so controlled. I thought it was just his personality, but now I wonder if there were things I missed." While the hospital dealt with the fallout, Alex's family faced their own devastating reality. His wife, Lucy, had been blindsided by the accusations. She had always believed Alex to be a kind and moral man, someone who put his patients and family first. "How could he do this?" Lucy sobbed to her sister. "How could I not have known? I feel like my whole life has been a lie." Lucy filed for separation shortly after Alex's arrest, determined to protect their two daughters from the scandal. She moved in with her parents, leaving behind the home she and Alex had built together. For the children, the transition was confusing and painful. "Where's Daddy?" Sophia, their eldest, asked one evening. Lucy struggled to find the words to explain without shattering her daughter's innocent view of her father. When Alex's case went to trial, it became a national spectacle. The courtroom was packed every day, with reporters, victims, and members of the public eager to see justice served. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence against Alex: medical records, testimonies from victims, and even inconsistencies in his notes that hinted at years of misconduct. Each victim's testimony was a heartbreaking reminder of the trust Alex had betrayed. Some spoke through tears, describing how they had once seen him as a savior during their pregnancies. "I thought he was the kindest man I'd ever met," one woman said. "I never imagined he could do something so horrible." Alex's defense team argued that he was suffering from a compulsion, a mental health issue that had gone untreated. But the jury was unmoved. The evidence against him was clear, and the emotional impact of the victims' stories was undeniable. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, Alex was found guilty on multiple counts of sexual assault and professional misconduct. The judge sentenced him to a lengthy prison term, ensuring he would spend years reflecting on the harm he had caused. The hospital, once a respected institution, faced its own reckoning. Administrators implemented sweeping reforms, including stricter oversight of doctors and mandatory chaperones during examinations. While these changes were necessary, they came too late for the women whose lives Alex had already destroyed. For Leo and Rosemary, healing was a long and difficult journey. They attended counseling together, working to rebuild their trust and find peace after the trauma they had endured. When their baby was born, it brought a sense of hope and renewal. They named her Grace, a symbol of the resilience and strength they had found in each other. Lucy, too, began to rebuild her life. She focused on providing a stable and loving home for her daughters, determined to shield them from the shadows of their father's actions. Though the stigma of being connected to Alex was difficult to bear, she refused to let it define her family's future. For Alex, prison was a stark and unforgiving reality. Stripped of the power and prestige he had once wielded, he was left to confront the consequences of his actions. The respect he had taken for granted was gone, replaced by scorn and disdain from fellow inmates and guards alike. Alone in his cell, Alex spent long hours reflecting on his choices. The guilt he had buried for years now weighed on him like a heavy stone. He began attending therapy sessions and eventually joined a prison support group for offenders seeking redemption. But for many of his victims, no amount of regret or rehabilitation could undo the damage he had caused. Dr. Alex's story is a sobering reminder of the devastating consequences of betrayal. Trust, once broken, can never be fully restored. Yet, Amidst the pain and destruction, there is also a lesson in resilience. For the victims, the road to healing was long and difficult, but they found strength in their shared experiences and the support of their loved ones. For Leo and Rosemary, their love and determination allowed them to rebuild their lives and create a future filled with hope. And for Alex, his fall from grace stands as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the darkness that can fester when unchecked desires are allowed to grow. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more stories that matter, stories that shed light on the darkest corners of human behavior and inspire conversations about justice, resilience, and hope. Let's work together to ensure that the lessons from stories like this one lead to meaningful change. Thank you for watching.